Okay, we're done. Well, almost.
Hey there and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this episode we are going to remove the stars using Starnet++ and we will use Photoshop to combine everything into a SHO object photo. And you might think, but what about the stacking? Well, for this you will need to look at my previous video, which you will find over here. So without further ado, let's get into the video and see previous me do all the work on my computer.
Now let's remove the stars. Those pesky stars. I'm going to use Starnet++ for this, and I will use 3 Starnet++s to do so. So I can click browse and I can just simply load them as H and O. The result file I identify as the starless file, and I can just click run on these 3 tabs. This is going to take some time. It is going to stress out my computer for a bit, and it does it 3 times. So I think it makes sense if I stop the recording for a bit and continue after this has succeeded. So see you in a bit. There, we're back. So now we have starless images as well. So let's load them into Photoshop so we can see what's in there. I will load first the sulfur, so the S data. I will just drag it to the Photoshop window, and what I need to do is I need to use the embedded profile. Why? Well, let's get to that immediately, because these are the 2 files: the file with stars, the file without stars. One thing that is already immediately apparent is that the file without the stars, you can simply see the nebulosity a whole lot better. The stars are just simply in the way, which is the entire reason why we remove them using Starnet++. But if we copy the start image and put that into a layer in the file with the starless image, and I set the layer with the stars to the mode that says difference, it will end me up with only the stars, which is exactly what I want. I'm then going to create a new layer, and I'm going to create this layer and use the thing that I now see on the screen. So I'm going to select all. I'm going to copy the view that I currently see, copy merged, and I'm going to paste this as a new layer. So I'm going to paste this, and then I have a new layer. And this layer I will name stars, and what was the background I will create into a layer that I will name starless, and in this case it is the S2 data. Layer 1, the file with the stars, I don't care about it anymore. I can just remove that. So I have stars, I have the nebulosity. Let's close this one, we won't need it anymore. Next up is the hydrogen. We will do simply the same thing. I will drag it to the window, I will use the embedded profile. I'm going to copy this file and put it on top of this. I will put it to the different layer. I will use now a shortcut key, Ctrl Shift Alt and the E, which is basically in one go what I did with selecting all, copy, merged and paste it as a new layer. It's just a shortcut key. I'll name this stars. I will remove layer 1 and I will name the background Starless H. And I can get rid of this one. That leaves us with the oxygen. Same trick, drag it to Photoshop, use the embedded profile. I'm going to copy this and put it on top of here. I will put it to difference, Ctrl Alt Shift E, and we have the stars. This layer we can get rid of, and we have a starless oxygen. Starless O. Okay, now what? Let's first work on the nebulosity. The stars is something we will do later. So I can just click the eye icon on, and get rid of that file. I can click on the eye icon for all the stars, so I will have the 3 channels, so S, H and O. What we need to do now first, at least that is how I tend to tackle this problem. I would like to have these similarly bright. So I'm going to simply put these 3 files next to each other. I will click Window, Arrange and then 3 up vertical. I also have these now in the same orientation, and if I click the hand icon and hold the shift, I can simply drag and all 3 of them will be dragged. A neat little trick. So I want them all similarly bright. That is something that is very hard to achieve, especially because I didn't shoot that many subs. So let's first take a look at the oxygen data. I will copy this layer and I will use image adjustments, and let's go into the curves mode. I think that is one of the things that will give me the best type of control here. Brightening things up, yeah, I can just this is a gray, no, a black and white image, monochrome image, and for some reason you have to drag down. I don't know why. Probably some more intelligent people can explain why, but if I do like this and create a little S curve, I can emphasize the brightness and the darkness in the image, and I think this already looks a bit more as what the H-alpha view is showing. And I need to do a similar thing to the sulfur. I'm going to copy that layer, edit, no, image adjustments, curves, and I'll do the same trick over here. I'm going to drag the left part down and the bottom part up. And the S2 data, yeah, I said it a few times already, it was a shitty night with clouds, so this is the most grainy image that is in the bunch of data. But I think I think they are pretty alike now. So, okay, now I'm going to combine these 3. I'm going to do select all. I'm going to copy the merged, so this is the S data, and I'm going to new. In the clipboard now is that file that I want to put in there, but I am going to want to get to an RGB file. So RGB, and I create it. It's called Untitled, but let's put it here. If I go into this Channels tab over here, I can individually click the red green or blue channel. So remember, this was the S2 data. We will get to an SHO image, the Hubble Pallette. So S is the red channel. So I will select the red channel and just simply do Ctrl-V for pasting it. So there we have the S data. The H data will go into the green channel. So I'm going to copy merge and get back to that new untitled thing and click the green channel, and the oxygen will need to go into the oxygen. Select all, copy merged. Oxygen will need to go into blue. And if I now go to the RGB view, I will see this wonderful, almost hallucinatic image. And yeah, this is the SHO palette. It will show the location of gas in the nebula. Same with this photo over here. This is the tadpole, and there. I'm not suitable for becoming a weatherman. So the tadpoles and the flaming stars. 29 degrees tomorrow. The Flaming Star Nebula, Tadpoles Nebula. But this is also showing that SHO palette. So the Tadpoles Nebula has a lot of oxygen in it. You can see it because of the blue color. The Flaming Star almost has no oxygen in it. So that is why this is very interesting to use it with this specific palette. It will show you where the certain gases are. I also see some weird color blotches over here, and I think this has to do with those clouds again in that S2 data. Remember, the S2 went into the red, so these blotches are colored red. So this is the resulting image, SHO. I want this to look more reddish and more golden brownish. I borrowed some techniques from the website bfastro.com and I made some action out of it. So there are some steps that are advised on that website. You can watch at my other video where I do an SHO processing on the what nebula did I do there? The Wizard Nebula, I believe. And you will see me point out that website as well. I just click the BF Astro Hubble palette, I click the play button, and I would then get to that view. But before I do that, let's make a new layer, because that's always good to do. Click the play button, it will do its magic. It will tweak the color channels in such a way that it will not show that much green, and this will be more reddish. The blue will remain to be blue, it just looks a little bit more pretty. And sometimes I even like to do that 2 times. So let's create again a new channel and do it again. But it will probably be too much. So now it's very red, very blue. And to get to a little bit more of a middle ground solution, I can just drag the opacity on this channel to, well, 50%. Looks quite nice. So I got from this to this and then to this. There's still some detail in here that might need some emphasizing. For that I can use something called a luminance layer. What I then usually do is I create a black and white image, and this black and white image I just use all the best data that I can find. So if I go into the H alpha, which was really good, and the oxygen, which was also a bit good, I will probably not want to use the S2 data. It's very, very grainy, and it also had those blotches in there. So let's only combine the O and the H alpha. and then get to something that we can use as a luminance layer. So I'm going to copy this again, copy merged, create a new image. I'm going to use a grayscale image at first. I'll copy it, and this was the H alpha, and let's go into the oxygen. I will copy it and put that in here as well. I will use for the layer on top the screen functionality, and screen will eventually make a combination of the two. So I now have both of the H and the oxygen I have in this view. I will create a new layer of it again with that magical keyboard combination Shift, Ctrl, Alt and E. So this layer 3 now is that data combined. What I like to do then is I can go into something called the camera raw filter. So I can go to camera raw filter in the filter menu, and camera raw filter has something that I really like to misuse. I think misuse is the proper way to describe this. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a bit with this clarity tab. And if I drag that all the way up, it will emphasize a lot of the data, but it will also emphasize the noise. So I will have to not use that a big number. But let's go 25 for instance. If I toggle it on and off, I think that makes a good look. I can also just turn down the blacks a bit. I think that looks nice. I will not mess too much with the highlights and the other options here. So let's press OK. Let's copy this layer. And I also don't really like the noise in the image, especially in the dark areas. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to Select Color Range, and I'm going to not pick sampled colors, but I'm going for the shadows. And I don't want everything to be selected. I only want the shadows to be selected. So everything that is white in this image is selected. And I also don't want the edges to be this sharp, but we will get to that in a different step. Just going to play with it a bit. I think this looks okay-ish. So now I've made this selection. I can refine it by going into Select again and then go to Select and Mask. Because in Select and Mask I can use something called Smooth and Feather, and especially Feather will create a smooth transition from selecting it and not selecting it. I'm going to increase that a bit, and you will see that the selection, the white in this case, is not that sharp speckled selection as it was before. So this is what I want, and now I'm going to get rid of that noise. So using this selection, I'm going to create a selection mask by clicking this button, and I can go into the image again and go back to filter, camera raw filter, and this time I'm going into this detail tab, and I'm just going to tackle all the noise, and I get rid of all the detail just because I can. I click OK and it will look awful. See? Awful. And that's because I've overdone it. So let's make sure that we get to some level that is something of 30%. That looks okay. So the noisiest bits are a little bit less noisy, but the details are still intact. I think this is okay. I will create a new layer again, and this time I'm going to make this a color image. I'm going to image and go to mode, and I will click RGB color. And because this is a layered file, I can select flatten or don't flatten. And this colored, but it is black and white still, of course, right? This colored file I can just select, and I will go into my SHO thing. I will copy it as a new layer, and I can use this layer in luminosity mode. And what it did is, perhaps it is not that visible immediately, but what it did is the detail is used from the luminosity, but the color data is used from the layers beneath. What I can do still now is I can use curves to adjust the luminosity layer a bit in a way that it makes it even pop more. I think this is quite nice, so let's go with this. Okay, we have something that is, I think, pretty reasonable. But now we need to add back in the stars. So this time we go back to the files, SHO, let's toggle the stars back on. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the SHO nebulosity. I will start with the S, I will copy merge, I'll create a new file, and I make it RGB. I'll go into the channels, this was the S, so there we have the S. The H will go into the green, copy merged, green, and the O will go into the blue. And if I click RGB again, I have RGB stars. With SHO filters, you get a very purple tinge to the stars. So what I tend to do now is I make a layer, I will invert the image. So I go to adjustments, invert, and if you now look at the stars, the purple tinge has become a green. And I can remove the green with something called Hasta la Vista Green, something that I've installed in Photoshop. You can also use the SCNR tool within Picture Insight if you have it, or you can go back into Cyril and use the green noise reduction function in there. If I run this, I can do it in a strong way. You can see that the green is removed, and then I can just re-invert the image again, and I will get back to what we had before, but this time the green, the purple tinge is gone. There's still some green left on other stars, and that I can remove by just simply go into the SCNR tool once more. So now I have colored stars, and I can use these stars in my other file. So I will copy merged again, go back to my, where is it? Here, the SHO, copy it in there, and I can use the screen option to add the stars back. And this is lots and lots of stars. So what I tend to do is I first want to get rid of many of those stars. So let's turn off the screen option first. I will go to select color range. This time it's not the shadows I'm after the highlights. I want almost all of the stars selected, and I will go into modify, will expand the selection by a few pixels, in this case 4, and then I will feather the selection, which is smoothing the selection, and I do this by half of the pixels that I have expanded it. So 4 it was before, now I use the value of 2. Now all these stars are selected. If I zoom in on the stars, I see the selection here. I'm going to mess it up by using the minimize function that will be in filter other minimum. Well, actually it looks quite okay-ish. 1 seems to be a good value. Oh. Okay, so the stars now have substantially been reduced. So if I put on screen again and zoom out, deselect the thing here, I will have less stars. The stars are a little bit not that bright, so I tend to go into the curves selection again, and I'm going to brighten these up. So very weird, first I reduce them and then I brighten them up. But yeah, such is the life of an astrophotographer. We are pretty weird. I think the video has been long enough now. There are quite some tweaks that can be done even further, but let's go and look at the right bottom view and let's compare it again with what I had before. Wrong view. I see I have lots of less stars, but if I compare these stars that I had left over, I think I did it a little bit more careful now. So the stars are a little bit better intact. I can remove a lot more to get back to a result that I had here. So this is what I had, and this is now the edit that I came up with now. Is it similar? Yeah, I think it is. Although the stars are a little bit more still. This is how I edited it. I hope you found it useful information. I am very keen on hearing your tips, how to do things differently. I am showing things probably in a too coarse way, how to say. I'm doing things very quickly, but having said that, yeah, I really like these kind of images. It's very astounding what you can achieve nowadays with amateur equipment, and as well that you can image stuff that hasn't been found or hasn't been discovered up until a few years ago. Although 2008, yeah, it's over 10 years ago, but still, it's pretty recent to my eye. Yeah, as I said, too long already. I will probably have to use the cut function in Shotcut a lot to get to a reasonable sized video. Thanks for watching, and I hope that I will see you soon in a different video where I am tinkering again with my telescopes in my garden or at the Cosmos Observatory. If you want to see different videos about other stuff that I have done, then feel free to browse all the videos on my channel. If you like my images, look me up on Instagram or on Twitter, and there you can find most of my images. And of course on telescopius.com, where I post most of them as well. So again, thanks. See you next time. Clear skies.